Folks, I've been waiting patiently for a great horror movie, right? And I don't just mean a very good horror movie. I'm talking about a 5-star, unimpeachable, S-tier horror film. Because for my money, we haven't gotten one since Hereditary. Critics sure tried to make Longlegs happen. You remember that? Scariest movie of the decade, the next Silence of the Lambs. My body was prepared.
You were the chosen one!
But even when Longlegs only turned out to be, like, pretty okay, I wasn't worried, because I knew this day was coming. Robert Eggers, the man who brought us The Witch, or The Vivitch if you prefer, taking on Nosferatu. I just kept telling myself, wait till Christmas, wait till Christmas. It's all going to be okay, because Robert Eggers is gifting us all another masterpiece for Christmas. But folks, I regret to inform you that you all need to cancel your holiday plans and go see this movie immediately, because I was fucking right! You heard me, boys and girls. Count Orlok is coming to town. He's making a list. There's only one girl on it. He's fucking obsessed with her. He doesn't need to check it twice, because like I said, there's only one person on this list. It's Lily-Rose Depp as Ellen, who, as a lonely young woman, cried out into the void for companionship, no matter its source. Not a good move, it turns out, as this is what opens the door to all sorts of vampires/possession-related insanity. By the way, guys, I am so done with Nepo baby discourse after this movie. It's over. It's finished. I understand that lots of former theater kids on Twitter are convinced that they would themselves be famous actors if Dennis Quaid's kid or Andy McDowell's kid weren't taking all the good roles, but you know what? Talented people often have talented kids. Maybe it's just that simple. Except, of course, for the Bronny James thing. Did no one tell these people that it's only cool to play with your kid in the league if your kid is actually good enough to play in the league? Anyway, that's a whole other conversation. But Lily-Rose Depp is so freaking good in this movie. I had actually never seen her star in anything before. I'd heard some people kind of shitting on her because of that HBO show she did with The Weeknd that people didn't like, but honestly, she was a blank slate for me going into this. Now, I'd heard that Anya Taylor-Joy was originally supposed to have this role, which I was bummed when she dropped out because, you know, obviously she's incredible, and her previous collaboration with Eggers in The Witch led to what, in my view, is one of the greatest horror movies of all time. But I'm not sure she could have topped this, honestly. This is a crazy performance. There's so much passion and intensity and physicality to her possession. My theater had 4 people walk out of this movie. 2 left after one scene and 2 left after another scene. And in both cases, it was directly following a Lily-Rose Depp freakout. It is objectively hilarious realizing that at this very moment, normies all around the country are walking into this theater with their families, just be, oh, you know, cozy little vampire movie with Johnny Depp's kid, you know, nice little flick for the holidays, the whole family, and they have no idea what they're walking into. Robert Eggers is not a normal movie kind of guy, really. I mean, if you've seen The Witch, or The Lighthouse, or The Northman, you know these are kind of balls-to-the-wall productions, right? They're disturbing, they're intense and in your face, and they're not really constrained by, like, the sensibilities of your average moviegoer, right? If you go see an Eggers movie, you're probably going to see some things that are going to stretch you a bit. But you're also going to see, and I cannot emphasize this enough, some of the most meticulous and beautiful craftsmanship to ever grace a screen. This is one of the very few guys that you can use the word auteur about and not have your voice muffled because your head is stuffed up your own ass. This is such a good looking movie. It is everything you want a gothic horror movie to be, right? It is dark, but it's not too dark. It's dreary, but in this sort of like hauntingly, tragically beautiful way. Honestly, there are shots in this movie that is just like, hang it in my house. Might lead to some uncomfortable conversations with guests depending on the shot, but you know what? It's fine. We need fewer visitors here anyway. Speaking of Nepo babies, Bill Skarsgard is in this. He plays Count Orlok, the vampire. He's very, very good in this. And they've been very secretive with what he looks like, for good reason, so I'm not gonna spoil it. But if you thought he was unrecognizable as Pennywise, you ain't seen nothing yet. I think we've just gotten too used to sexy vampires, you know? Granted, there's always been this kind of erotic dimension to vampire stories and mythology, but I think we've just had one too many True Blood, Twilight-style sparkle boys. These things are monsters. They're centuries old. They never see the sunlight. They hang out with rats. Let's have them look like that once in a while. So I won't tell you much about what they did to Skarsgard here, but suffice it to say, you will not be aroused. If you are, listen, no judgment. I won't kink shame you, but that's pretty wild. You're also going to be surprised by how the vampire in this movie drinks blood. It is not what you're expecting. It's so much worse. It's in the best way. It's so nasty. Nicholas Hoult's also in the movie. He's kind of got a thing for like vampire, zombie, dead guy stuff, which makes sense because he does just kind of seem very pale and frightened all the time, I guess. Anyway, he does good here. By the way, if you haven't seen Juror Number 2 with him, it came out earlier this year, you should watch it. It's not a horror movie, but I am recommending it. I'm a man of many tastes. Unlike Count Orlok, who once again, I must emphasize, has only one taste. It is all about Lily-Rose Depp for this guy. Willem Dafoe is great here, of course. He's always great. He's kind of the much-needed comic relief in this movie. In fact, he has one line about Isaac Newton that I won't spoil it, but it's one of the funniest things I've heard a character say in theaters in a long time, and yet I was the only person in my showing who laughed, so I kind of felt like a crazy person. I don't know how you're gonna take it. Your mileage may vary. What else is good? The sound design is pretty crazy. They do this thing especially with Count Orlok's voice, where he's just like 5 times louder than everyone else who speaks. It's very like all the other characters are just talking, and this dude is invading your dreams. Like, I don't know if it sounds dumb the way I'm describing it, but it's pretty sick. And some of the other sounds in this movie too, it's just disgusting. There's some serious crunching going on. There's some gulping. I feel like you could watch this movie with your eyes closed and still get kind of freaked out. But speaking of which, the scary story guy, the real question we've got to talk about, is the movie scary? And I would say, yeah, as vampire movies go, this one is scary. I don't think this genre often sets out to, like, first and foremost terrify its viewers. It's more of like this kind of gothic, slow, flowery style of horror, more than like The Conjuring or some shit. But yeah, this one will get you a few times. It's actually mostly from Depp's performance, at least for me. If you've ever seen an 80s horror movie called The Possession, starring Isabelle Adjani, maybe you'll know what I'm talking about. This is the 3rd time this year where I've seen a movie where I'm like, okay, this actress has clearly seen The Possession, but Depp does do it best. I mean, she commits. It is body movements and facial expressions and just being completely deranged and eyes rolling back in her head. It all really works for me. We've all got our own personal, this thing really creeps me out, right? For some people it's clowns, some people it's spiders. For me, it's if some like pretty waifish girl just starts contorting her body in these like demonic, possessed, ugly, intense ways. It's effective 100% of the time. But no, this movie isn't like can't relax levels of scary. In fact, I think Nosferatu is going to end up being like horror comfort food for me in the future. Like, you know, cozy winter night, just fire up Nosferatu and bask in the gothic vibes for a couple hours. It's actually how The Witch is for me as well. There's just something very peaceful about the solitude of these whack jobs, although maybe it's not fair to call them that. They ended up being right about pretty much everything. But yeah, Eggers' period pieces is going to be cozy, and you're also maybe not going to know what characters are saying half the time. It's actually not nearly as bad in this one as in The Witch, but there is an effect on Orlok's voice where it's like he is pretty hard to understand at times, and I definitely think that the first time I watched this movie with subtitles, I'm going to pick up on a lot of stuff that I totally missed in the theater. Now, I do think this is going to be a polarizing movie, if for no other reason than it's clearly attracting an audience that is bigger, not that it deserves, but it maybe is bigger than the people who will like it. It's getting a Christmas release, so people just go to the movies. And at least from my showing, I think there are some people going to this who don't quite understand what this dude's about. But if you're a viewer of this channel, if you are a fan of Robert Eggers' previous work, I'm just gonna tell you, you're gonna love this movie. These days, it's the vanishingly rare horror movie that meets the hype it gets. I mean, and this had a lot of hype, right? It's Eggers taking on a classic story, big cast, holiday release. If this wasn't great, it would be a huge disappointment. So I wouldn't say it exceeded my expectations. Maybe certain elements of it did, like Lily-Rose Depp's performance, but I will say it absolutely met my expectations. And thankfully, my expectations were through the roof. So for the first and last time in 2024, I'm gonna give Nosferatu 5 stars out of 5. To answer the title of my video, it is the best horror movie of 2024. In fact, it's the best movie, period, of 2024. And I'll even go so far as to say that Nosferatu is the best horror movie of the 2020s thus far. What a way to close out the year. All right, guys, I'll be back on my normal content making schedule starting now, New Year's resolutions and all that, so I will return to your YouTube subscription feeds and to your bosoms, whether you want me there or not. 2025, we're going full Count Orlok on this channel. But until then, thank you for watching this video, and here's hoping you survive to see the next one.